I think the DC area has a great emerging film scene. This episode of Picture Lock is proof of that. I'll chat with very talented directors and producers about their latest films and hopefully get an in-depth insight as to the process of filmmaking from their point of view. My first guest is DC native Anthony Greene. He's a writer, director, and producer of various films and a television program. Two of the films he's directed recently have been feature-length. Most recently, his feature film, The Henchman's War, played at West End Cinema. His latest feature, Thick, will be playing in October at West End for the Real Independent Extravaganza. If that wasn't enough, he is the DC Film Office's Filmmaker of the Month for September 2013. Anthony, congratulations and welcome. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me here.
No problem, man. How does it feel to be, Filmmaker of the Month? That's a big honor.
All of it is surreal. You don't know what's coming. What you do is you try to work as hard as you can, and you don't really, you want accolades. You think it's going to be great, but when you're independent and you're local, you think nobody's really paying attention, so you're just working hard, and then something like that comes out of left field and just catches you completely off guard. So, but it was a great honor. Hopefully it helps boost things up a little bit more. But you got to keep busy. You can't stop and wallow in the sunlight too long because you got to keep working.
You didn't go to Jamaica or anything like
no,
I'm Filmmaker of the Month.
It wasn't like Disney World. Now I'm done. So
right.
But it was a cool moment.
Okay.
And it helped boost the popularity of Henchman's War, so it was a great thing.
Awesome. All right, man, where do we begin? Let's just start with, how did you get into film?
You know what? The best way for me to say how I got into film was by watching films. Loving films, loving movies, watching movies, sharing movies with friends and family. That was the definitive genesis of me becoming a filmmaker. My love for watching it, understanding the craft, looking at the medium, looking at the different things that come from the medium. There is no great origin story. It wasn't like, one day I was walking and I got hit in the head with a camera and I was like, oh, I'm supposed to be a filmmaker. It was just, it was something I loved. I loved doing it so much that I wanted to be a part of it, and I had to find my niche in it, and I found it. So that's it. It's real simple. Okay. Just love movies so much I want to make them.
Right. It sounds like me. So I know you started out writing. So how did you get into writing? And was that always a passion?
I initially started out doing everything. And I got on some people's projects by doing music composition.
Really?
Really. And I've always written ever since I was younger. English was my thing, literature was my thing. So I've always written, but it wasn't until later After the Storm that I actually wrote and shared one of my first short films. I've had stuff written before, but it wasn't anything that I was serious about trying to produce, anything like that.
Right.
But after being exposed to, the world a little bit more, the writing bug that I originally had came back, and I started jotting down these ideas and putting scripts together to see exactly, what I could get out of it, how far it would go.
Yeah. So, there's a certain amount of a godlike quality to being the writer, in that you create the environment, you create the world, you create the characters. What kind of environments and characters do you like to create?
All right. You know what? I couldn't say, because I never know what I'll write. My imagination, the way I think about things, the way I see things, they're going to gradually change as I evolve and get older. So it's always going to gradually change. Right now, I like the idea of making American foreign films. So stuff that's really people-driven and have a humanistic edge to it. And, I like to play with the genres a bit. So it'll be a gangster movie, but it'll be a gangster movie about men who fell in love and ended up, in this death match over the women in their lives and the mistakes they've made instead of just going around trying to shoot each other. So, when you're writing alone, and it is the most solitary experience in filmmaking. And from that inception, it goes out into the world, and there's so many other people that the God complex, once you make a film and go back to writing again, you realize that you really, there's more of a community instead of just like, this is the world that I'm creating, because it always comes back different than what you started it out as.
Right.
So, but as far as writing goes, as far as stories go, sky's the limit. Anything can come out of my mind.
Yeah, that's true. So you call, and it seems like is this a genre that you created, American foreign films?
Yes.
Yeah, I like that though. I know
said
what you
it
mean
first,
by it. Yeah.
right here. And if anybody else ever says it, they owe me. Foreign films are love letters to Hollywood movies, but it's in a sense where they make these films without it being formulaic, because it's more of an expression of how they feel about film and how they feel about, what transfers over to them. In America, our films have become very formulaic. Even our independent films have the same beats. Every once in a while, something comes out to challenge the status quo, but whenever you want to, like, Let the Right One In or Revanche and all those, great little genre type films that we get, Old Boy, stuff like that.
Right.
When we initially see these films, they're so different than what we ingest from here. And what I want to do, I want to make films that are American-made films, but have the aesthetic to give back to what came in from the foreign films. So,
Right.
So I like American foreign films.
I like this guy. Right. I like this guy. Yeah. Okay.
I'll produce a Hollywood film in a heartbeat, but I'll direct American foreign films. That's what I want to. I would write and direct those.
Right. Okay, man. I feel like we could just geek out right now because you hit Let the Right One In, Old Boy, all these other films I just love. Yeah. All right. So how did you bridge over into producing and directing?
I had no choice. When you're dealing with a micro budget, you don't know if you're going to be able to pay everybody. You don't know if you're going to be able to make the movie happen. You got to do it. You got to take charge. You got to be the leader, especially if nobody else is going to do it. I have a love-hate relationship with directing. I think it's really cool to do it, but I like producing also, which means that it tugs back and forth with the direction.
Right.
I get writing. Writing is the inception. You send it out there. The producer can say what's going to end up in that final cut in that. The director has the vision, so they all work together. But getting into producing and directing was a necessary evil. But it was the best necessary evil because I can learn so much more about the workflow and how it all is supposed to encompass each other and come together, that when I do get to be in a producer standpoint to build a team, I have a fuller understanding of what my director's going through, what my writer's going through. I know what the editor's going through, why the DP is pissed off at everybody. I get it, you know what I mean?
Right.
So being able to wear those different hats was a necessary evil that was a blessing at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. As a director, it just seems like you really go in depth into your research, into watching different films, pulling from it as we all do as directors, and then creating your own style. Is there any formula to how you go about preparing for a film? So for like The Henchman's War, and we can talk a little bit about that just in terms. You can go ahead and summarize what the film is about, but how did you as a director prepare for that film?
I just watch movies. You know what? With The Henchman's War, I had certain movies that I pulled from. John Cassavetes' Killing of a Chinese Bookie, Sergio Leone's Once Upon a Time in the West. You got Pale Flower. You got different actors like Charles Bronson, Clint Eastwood, that were kind of like the surrogates for Rick Kane as Joe King. You have the quieter movies like Revanche and Time Crimes and stuff like that. So it's so many different influences that you can't really pinpoint just one. I have a moment in the movie that I wanted to mirror from the Japanese film Pale Flower, which is a great genre movie. It's a great gangster movie that a lot of people might not have heard from, But just to have those little influences in there, those are little things and nods that I gave to myself while I was writing it. And because I watch movies the way I do, that stuff is embedded in me. That's just going to flow out. So I don't, if I called it research, it wouldn't be true. I just love watching movies. It's just in there. It is, and it spews out. If I'm on the set and I'm talking, I'm like, yeah, well, like the scene in such and such and such and such.
Right.
And just like the beginning of the Henchman's War, the beginning of the Henchman's War is a mood setter, and I pretty much borrowed that from Kubrick and what he does in the beginning of his movies. He sets a mood. He either uses black screen, orchestra music, kind of like a prologue. It's real quiet. It's real, you get into the mood because you're about to go from your world into this one. And I wanted to do something like that with the Henchman's War. And at the same time, it was going to wing you out. If you couldn't take the first couple of minutes of Henchman's War, you're not going to like the rest of the movie. And that's just the bottom line.
Right.
There's nothing you can do about that. But for the people that dig it, for the people that get it, for the people who I made the film for, and that's the thing. The real research is knowing who I was making my film for. I don't want to make a $9,000 micro budget drama for a multiplex.
Right.
And I don't want to make the GoBots prequel for the independent film scene. It's just not going to work. You know what I mean?
Right.
So my real research was, okay, this is how much I got. This is the story I have. It went in that order. But and this is what I'm trying to make. And who was this audience for? And I think our success with the Henchman's War and the people who liked it and the people who came out to see it is because it was made for that particular crowd and they got it. And that's where the bulk of my research would go into.
Okay. So can you give us a summary of the Henchman's War? And then what did you learn from that experience in making it?
How long the show? All right, well, to really sum it up quickly, a mob henchman accidentally kills a woman who was a part of his past. And once realizing the mistake that he's made, he goes on the journey to confront his boss, who also had dealings with him and that woman in their past. And it has the undertone of a revenge movie, of a shoot 'em up, out for vengeance type action film in a gangster world, but it's really about coming to terms with who you are, the mistakes you made, and being okay with moving on and leaving that stuff behind. If you can or if you can't, how you deal with your regret, how you deal with not being able to get it right. I think sometimes a lot of people have things that they hold deep inside that they never get out of their system, and it stays with them, and it affects them, and you never have that moment where you can absolve yourself from what you've done. And I tried to mirror that between the mob henchman and his boss, because for both of them, they're both dealing with those issues. And it brings them to their collision course, which is, it's an American foreign film, so it's kind of anticlimactic, but
Right.
but it fits. What I've learned, I've learned more about the medium of film and the type of storytelling it is. How I learned more about how to interlock all the pieces. I mean, film is that one medium where every individual aspect of art meets. Everything meets: music, makeup, painting, carpentry, photography. Everything meets in film. No other medium does that. And to direct that, to be the quarterback of a team like that, you got to know exactly how everybody plays. You got to know their temperament. You got to know who don't like peanuts, who do like peanuts. If somebody walk like this today, don't ask them to do this because they're going to scream at you. I mean, you got to know everything, because you got to get that team across the finish line. And Henchman's War, and for an artistic perspective and as a director, taught me those things. How to sit back, how to be patient, how not to lose my cool, how to push through, how to get it done, how to maneuver around the obstacles to keep moving forward.
Right.
Because on the bigger playing field, it's going to matter if I can do that.
Yeah.
And then on the business end, it taught me a lot about how to deal with certain aspects of of who needs what. How do you get this done? Well, where do you go to? I mean, because when you first start out, you don't know how to ask people for money. I can't do Kickstarter.
Right.
I'm a 30-year-old black man. I can't be on computer asking for people's money. I don't, it won't work. I had to hire a white person to do it for me. But, but I mean, but it's like it's not for me. So I got to realize how to approach investors. I got to realize what I can put in there that makes it work for people to say, hey, I want to work with you.
Right.
And then you got to get a good movie out of it. You got to look at it and say, okay, this is not working. Cut that. Put that together. I don't care how short it is. This works. So it's a lot to learn the first time out.
Okay. My director is telling me we got like a minute left, but we gotta get 5 more minutes because this is good stuff. All right. So one thing I appreciate about you is that you're the total package, right? So you don't just write a film and shoot it. You market it. You do behind the scenes footage, photos, etc. And I think that's what separates you from a lot of independent filmmakers that are out here. And that's something that a lot of people don't think about and that a lot of people miss. So can you talk about, from a conceptualization to marketing and distribution, like how do you manage your films and movies? Because I think you do a great job of not just saying, I want to make a movie, but like I actually want to get it out there. You know what I mean? Because if you don't do the proper marketing and distribution, like who's going to really want to come and see it?
Well, one of the most important things to me is this. When you go into a room and you say, hey guys, let's do this. I have an idea to do this. Let's get some actors. What are you doing this weekend? Don't do that. Come do this movie. I mean, and the thing is that when you do that, you're grouping all these people together who have dreams. And they're there because they want a dream to come true. They want something to come out of it. And when you take all that energy and you don't follow through, you don't put it on screen, you don't show it to the world, you don't get it out there, that's another mark on their dreams. That's another thing that can kill them. That's another thing that can send them back to the job they hate or to the relationship they just knew they was going to get out of when they got famous one day. I mean, anything, you know what I mean?
Right.
So you got to see it through, no matter how discouraging or insane or sickening it can be. Henchman's War had at least 30 people involved, at least. And I got to carry all those people on my back to make sure that somebody they don't know gets to see their work,
right,
and their name scroll across that screen when it goes off. Because that's what they invested in me for. They invested their time in me to make sure that whatever they did and trusted me, that I could come through on my end. And sometimes I can't come through in every kind of way. But I know that I can make people know that you exist. Right. I know that I can get you on a movie screen, that we're going to come out, we're going to see your movie, it's going to be here tomorrow, there's going to be people talking about it. It's a movie. You go get popcorn, get a soda, you sit down in the theater. You don't have to pay $40, $50 and see it one night. If you don't catch it that night, you're never going to see it again. We got to make sure that when we do these jobs as the leaders, as the directors, as producers, that this independent local talent gets to be seen. Because that's what they're doing it for. That's what they're doing it for. We not paying you much, if anything at all.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But you want it to be a career. You want it to amount to something. You want to say, I got this on my resume and this matters.
Right.
If you got Boo Boo the Fool in your resume and nobody saw it but his cousin, it don't make a difference when you try to get an actual job somewhere.
Right.
But you want to be able to walk in and say, oh yeah, you worked on Henchman's War. That was that micro budget film that they did pretty good, I heard. Yeah.
Right,
and then it starts, and that's what they need. Mm-hmm. That's what they want. Or it will be a year, a career of extras and saying, I don't want to do this no more because I'm tired of standing outside for 20 hours with some potato chips. So
okay. No, man, you're taking them to church right now. So really quickly, just in terms of that, do you like hire like a totally separate crew that's just doing all that? Because I mean, from what I've seen, it just looks like you just have people everywhere.
B. No, you know what? I have. It's a lot of good people, and you want to know exactly who you're working with, if you guys fit, how the schedules work, And the good thing about it is, with good networking, with a good network of friends, with a good group of people, the more people you work with, the more people you meet, the more people, there's more support for everybody. There's more of a segue from one person's skill to another. I think it's just a thing about what the project needs. Like the Henchman's War needed Quimpeck behind the camera. I mean, the way that he lights, the way that he used the camera, the us seeing eye to eye on particular things about the Z-axis and how we put the stuff together, the quietness, the foreign film thing.
Right.
With Thick, it's a completely different thing. It's more colorful, it's more vibrant, and the story calls for that. Would I like to have one definitive DP, one definitive editor that we all understand and know each other, and whenever we get together, we just click like that? Yes, I would, but that has to happen first. And until then, you got to test the waters to see. It's kind of like dating. You can't marry the first person.
Right.
I mean, you can, but yeah. So you can. But the thing is that you got to find out what fits. And while you're doing that, you get to work with a lot of talented people. You get to come across people and you see things that they've done and you said, okay, I dig that. I think that can work for this. And I think it's great. Sometimes it's, people not available. Sometimes they are available, because it's still independent. It's still local. It's still not, on a phenomenal level yet. When you're like, dude, I got 4 million. What do you mean you ain't got time to come? Come on.
Right.
So until then, you just get in where you fit in.
Yeah. Well, Anthony, I hate to bring this conversation to a close. Talk to us real quick just about Thick, and it's going to be playing in October at West End.
Yeah, Thick will screen for the first time October 17th at West End Cinema, during the Real Independent Film Extravaganza on the closing night. Thick was a fun idea that I had a long while back, and I wrote the initial synopsis out for it. And the movie is about, the movie was about a guy who dealt with illegal activities and had to deal with the recession, which made it harder for him economically, and all of his people were trying to find ways to get out on top and leave him hanging. And then I thought, well, why not make the guy a girl? Make it a female boss and have her go through this. And her wife is acting up and everybody else is trying to bring her down. And so we kind of turned it on his head a little bit there. I started writing the script, and then I kind of got sidetracked with Henchman and other stuff. And I asked Cheryl Brown to step in and finish it out. Cheryl Brown is another AIM alum. And she came in and she finished up the script, and we went through it and revised it and said, okay, well, Henchman's War was pretty much done. The executive producer, Henchman's War, was like, hey, I kind of dig what happened there. What do you guys want to work on next? He was like, well, we got Thick ready. And, so she and I co-directed that. It has a great cast. It looks really good. The same people who did our sound design, which is extremely important for Henchman's War, came in to do the sound design for Thick, that Studio Unknown. So I feel really good about it. I think it's a cool urban genre type movie. And I think it'll have its place really strongly in like a DVD market, Netflix and stuff like that.
Right.
I don't really know if it's like a theatrical thing like The Henchman's War is, which is another important thing. Every movie doesn't need to be put out every way, because the crowd that'll be attracted to it gets their medium in different ways. So, well, I think it's going to be a strong little piece, and if it works, because it was originally going to be a web series, but web series don't make money, and I can't ask for somebody to give me money to make something, and I can't make my money back. So we're actually looking at making it a trilogy.
Okay.
So if the first one does what it's supposed to do, if it plays the way it's supposed to play, then we can finish out the trilogy to the movie. So
awesome.
So yeah.
Man, well, Anthony, thanks for coming on, man. Obviously, you have a wealth of knowledge. I definitely would love to talk to you more, maybe have you back on the show. But good luck with Thick in October.
And Henchman goes to Hollywood in November.
Wow.
So
this guy. All right, man. Thanks for coming on the show, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.